So in the series of Indian geography classes, we have so far completed 6 topics starting from India, location size, physiography of India, drainage system of India, Indian climate or climate of India, vegetation of India, soils of India, and now today we are going to stop the last topic of the Indian geography, that is natural hazards and disasters. Now, first question 2, like as usual, Ghoshji, please read the question number 1.
Yes, sir. Which one of the following is different from others? Drought, earthquake, tsunami, volcanic eruption. The correct answer will be, I think, drought. Option A.
Okay, so which one of the following is different from others? Drought, earthquake, tsunami, volcanic eruption. All are like natural disasters only. Why there is difference between drought and other things, Goji?
Actually, other things, drought means it is full of femininity, means there is a dryness, but others mean earthquake, tsunami, volcanic eruption. There are massive activities going on here in this three terminology.
Right. So the answer is correct. Answer is drought. But why? The reason is in nature, sometimes some accidents may happen. Our natures has lot of force to control so many things in the nature. But as per our Indian geography or general geography, these are divided into hazards and disasters. Hazardous industries we call, like those people who are working in the chemical industries where the toxic gases release, we call that hazardous industries, like bangle making industry. But disasters are different. So hazards are different, disasters are different. For a layman, both are same. But when we are studying geography, we should know the difference between what is a hazard and what is a disaster. So let us go to the class. Now, if you see the earthquake, tsunami, volcanic eruption, landslide, avalanche, for a general person, these are all disasters. On screen you can see flood is we treat as a disaster, drought we treat as a disaster, earthquake we treat as a disaster, landslide, tsunami, forest fire. So we call these all disasters. But technically speaking, hazard is different, disaster is different. So what is hazard? A hazard is a natural or man-made event. So we can understand a hazard is a natural or a man-made event which may cause a physical damage, economic loss, or threaten human life and well-being if it occurs in an area of human settlement, agricultural or industrial activity. So it can be natural or it can be even man-made, and it will create a lot of physical damage to the property or economic losses, or it can even threaten the security of the life and well-being. So in area of human settlement, it can affect agriculture also or industrial activity also. Then what is a disaster? Disaster is an undesirable occurrence resulting from forces that are largely outside human control. So there are forces in this world which are beyond the control of human being, like the ocean currents or the cold current, warm water current, or cyclones. These are beyond humans control. We cannot control cyclone. We can predict cyclone, but we cannot control cyclone. So the natural forces that are largely outside human control strikes quickly with a little or no warning. So without any kind of pre-alert or information, they will strike planet Earth, which causes or threatens a serious disruption of life and property, including death and injury to a large number of people, and requires therefore mobilization of efforts in excess of that which are normally provided by statutory emergency services. So disasters are not man-made. 99.99% the disasters are natural. Those things are out of human control, whereas hazards can be man-made or as well as natural. What hazard? For example, if anybody has running a chemical industry or tire manufacturing industry, suddenly because of some issue the fire erupt, then what will happen? The entire factory will be burnt into ashes, and the toxic gases which are released into the atmosphere can cause lot of problems to the people who are living nearby. Bhopal gas tragedy, it's a man-made tragedy, it is not a natural disaster. So this is the difference between a hazard which creates a problem and threat, but that can be controlled. But disasters are out of human control. Only we have to take the precautionary measures and we have to go with the disaster management. We cannot have the complete control over these kind of disasters. Example, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunami, all these are disasters. Now, all disasters are hazards, but all hazards are not disasters, right? This is all disasters, whatever happened in this world with the natural forces are man-made disasters, all can be called as hazards. All disasters are hazards, but all hazards are not disasters. Now, it is in the NCERT class 11 textbook, because questions may come from your NCERT textbook. That's why I have taken exactly from your NCERT textbook only. Now, if you see, the different disasters happened in different places and the effect of those disasters. The one which has caused a lot of human deaths, maximum deaths, happened in the year 1948 in the Soviet Union, now Russia, and the reason was earthquake, and 101 million people, 110,000 people were killed during this natural disaster. So the highest or the most dangerous natural disaster occurred in the human history is earthquake. And the second one is in 1949 in China, the floods and killed 57,000 people. So the first natural dangerous or greatest or whatever the worst natural disaster to the human mankind is earthquakes, and then the second one is floods, and the third one is tropical cyclones. And then we know that recently we have come to, we understood recently. I'll just close my WhatsApp so that no disturbance. Okay, and recently we understood in 2004 regarding the new disaster which was not known to many people, that is tsunami, and it killed 500,000 people, or you can go with 5 lakhs lost their lives during this disaster. And in East Pakistan in 1970, even tropical cyclones also killed, or death was 5 lakhs people or 500,000 people. So these were the natural disasters occurred in the world. Now let us go to the next slide. Now, classification of natural disasters. So there are so many natural disasters we know, but we are trying to classify these disasters as per the NCERT class 11 geography, Indian geography textbook. So there are 4 different classifications of disasters. Atmospheric disasters are there, terrestrial disasters are there, aquatic disasters are there, biological disasters are there. So what are the biological disasters? Plants and animals as colonizers, locusts, insects infestation, fungal, bacterial and viral diseases such as bird flu, dengue and etc. The best example for biological disaster nowadays is pandemic, which had happened 2 years back, or still it is in rampant, that is COVID. So these kind of disasters like bird flu, dengue etc. can eradicate the entire human population. So this is not a man-made disaster, it is a biological disaster. Then what is aquatic disasters? Related to the or connected to the water. So floods, tidal waves, ocean currents, storm surges and tsunami. So if there is a big tsunami comes, it can wipe out a lot of human population. Floods also we know, tidal waves also we know, ocean currents also create a lot of disasters. It will create El Nino or La Nino, and storm surges, sudden fall of rainfall will cause lot of damage. Then we have terrestrial disasters. So what are these terrestrial disasters? The very well known earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, landslides, avalanches, the snow avalanches, rock avalanches and subsidence and soil erosion. So subsidence is also a type of terrestrial natural disaster. Then atmospheric disasters, that is in the nature there are exosphere, thermosphere, all those are there. So from this, atmospheric disasters are blizzards, thunderstorms, lightning, tornadoes, tropical cyclone. You can see cyclones are part of atmospheric disaster. Drought, hailstorm, frost, heat wave or Lu or cold waves. So these are the atmospheric disaster. Now two words might be causing little confusion. One is under atmospheric, it is blizzards, and under terrestrial, the next one is subsidence. So let us understand with a picture of blizzards. BLIZZARDS. I'll just copy it down. BLIZZARDS. Blizzards disaster. So what is this blizzards disaster? Let me just copy this one. I will just show you this one. Okay, just a minute. What is this blizzards disaster? Where it is, here, no? So duplicate slide, then we going with the blizzards. So this is the blizzard disaster. Now what is this blizzard disaster? A blizzard, I'll just copy so that it will be easy for you also to read on screen. Here it is there, right side I have pasted the blizzard disaster. Now what is this blizzard disaster? A blizzard is a serious snowstorm with strong winds with spread at least 35 miles per hour, lasting 3 or more hours. The three important factors are necessary for forming a blizzard: a cold air, a moisture, and a warm rising air. Sometimes blizzards can be created by strong winds picking up snow that already had fallen. In Indian subcontinent, we may not be aware about these blizzards, maybe mostly, but those people who are living in Himachal Pradesh, extreme northern part of India, may find this one. But in Canada, northern Canada, these are quite common. Then we have one more word which is causing confusion, that is subsidence. So let me just post you that one also so that it will be clear from you. SUB, subsidence disaster. So what is the picture of subsidence disaster? Let us see. Where land subsidence. Okay, here is the picture. Save image. 1 second, just give me time. Because if you don't get clarity, then it will be difficult to understand the next one. So subsidence means it is like collision, collapse of things on road. So let me just insert that one image, upload from computer, NVS, Indian Geography. All right. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir. I can see that.
Right. 1 second. Subsidence disaster. Okay, what is this subsidence disaster? Okay. One second. So the explanation for subsidence is it's a kind of a disaster. Subsidence is the movement of ground, block or slope. It is caused by readjustment of overburden due to collapse and failure of underground operating mine excavations. So unfilled and unsupported abandoned stopes of excess water withdrawal. So this is called subsidence. So this is also a natural disaster. And you must have seen some kind of holes will happen in the ground. Suddenly there will be fall and that will become a big hole. So that is also a kind of a natural disaster. I'm not getting that name of that hole. Suddenly the earth, I mean this core will fall down and there will become a big hole into the earth. So that is also a kind of a natural disaster. So let us quickly go back and try to understand the natural disasters have been classified into 4 categories. One is atmospheric disaster, terrestrial disaster, aquatic disaster, and biological disasters. And the confusion was with the blizzards and the subsidence disasters. Now there are 3 types of disasters for our continuation of the class. As a CBSC part, it is 4 types of disasters, but for our understanding, let us make these are 3 disasters or 3 types of disaster. The first type of disasters are natural disasters. That means in All these four: biological disasters, terrestrial disasters, aquatic disasters, atmospheric disasters, all these are natural disasters where there is no role of human being, and these disasters are beyond the control of human being. And the second type of disasters are technological disasters. That means human had created some kind of technology and that had led to a great disaster. So those kind of disasters come under technological disasters. And third one is complex disasters. So most of us, we discuss natural disasters only, but it is nothing wrong if we discuss technological disasters and complex disasters. Now what are the natural disasters? Again, these natural disasters are divided into different groups like aquatic, atmospheric. Here also there are geological disasters: earthquakes, tsunami, volcanic eruptions, landslides all comes under the geological disasters. Now what is an earthquake? Of course you all know that, but for explanation I am trying to explain and show you some examples. So earthquake is a sudden slipping or movement of a portion of the earth's crust accompanied and followed by a series of vibrations. So the epicenter will be there, and from that epicenter the waves reaches long distance, and wherever the waves reaches, that will shake the earth's crust, and that we call as earthquake. Now if you see India, especially connected to India, all these zones which are highlighted are high risk zones or earthquake prone zones. Manipur, from where Deepa ma'am is attending this class, is in a high earthquake prone zone. Don't worry, Deepa ma'am, you must be feeling those tremors of earthquakes quite often, correct?
So today only in the morning we had earthquake.
Right. So there will be mild earthquakes, unnoticed earthquakes so many times in a day, but if it goes little high, then there will be some times of tremors and we can feel it. So it is a natural process of that particular place or particular zone, and they are divided into very high risk zone and high risk zone, moderate risk zone and low risk zone. So you can see here the red one, it is entirely northeast, okay, and the Himalayan regions and some part of the Gujarat. These are in the very high risk zone. Seismic zone, map of India 2002, about 59% of the land area of India is liable to seismic hazard damage, and these states are high risk zone. And then second one is zone 4, it is the light what you call brownish in color. These are high risk zone, intensity 8, and this yellowish are in the moderate risk zone, and this blue color or light blue, sky blue colored zone is the low risk zone. So most I suppose Ghoshji and Rajesh sir and I, we are in the either in moderate risk zone to low risk zone, but Deepa ma'am is in the high risk zone. Now these are the right side. You can see what can we do at the time of our precautionary measures, what we can do to avoid this kind of natural. Of course we cannot avoid the natural disaster of earthquakes, but we can save our lives with the help of lot of preparation. Okay, so these are the 4 points are given on the screen. You can read and you can understand. Use of geographical positioning systems can be a great help in monitoring the movement of tectonic plates. So they use the modern technology to identify the tectonic plates movement. Then preparing a vulnerability map of the country and dissemination of vulnerability risk information among the people, and educating them about the ways and means minimizing the adverse impact of disasters. So those people who are living in the high risk zones, they should understand about the problem and accordingly they have to survive there. And modifying the house types and buildings designs in the vulnerable areas and discouraging construction of high-rise buildings, large industrial establishments and big urban cities and such. So most of the development happened in this particular place where it is low risk zone or no risk zone of earthquakes. If anybody who build a 25 stories building, 30 stories building in this high risk zone or very high risk zone, there is a chance that even for small earthquake, the building would collapse. Finally, making it mandatory to adopt earthquake resistant designs and use light materials in measures. So all these steps we can take to avoid loss, human loss or economic loss during this earthquake. So we cannot stop earthquake, but we can take measures to save ourselves. And this is the seismic zone, high what you call risk zone is given in the red color. So Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Bihar, some parts of foothills of what do you call here Himalayas, and Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir, these are in the high risk zone. And Richter scale, what do you call, the earthquake measurement will be done using the Richter scale and seismography graph. Then the second natural disaster which is beyond human control is tsunami. What is tsunami? Tsunami is a series of waves created when a body of water such as an ocean is rapidly displaced. What are the reasons? Causes for tsunamis: earthquakes, mass movements above or below water, volcanic eruptions, and underwater explosions, landslides, all have the potential to generate a tsunami. So when two landslides collide under the sea, or tectonic plates collide under the sea, or volcanic eruption kind, or earthquakes happen, the tsunami which struck Indonesia 2004, it was a massive earthquake. So when the earthquake happened, what happened? It released a lot of energy, and that energy released, and that energy made the waves into a gigantic height, and that was the reason why the tsunami affected so badly to the human population. So second natural disaster is tsunami. And third one is volcanic eruption. Volcanic eruption is a point in which a volcano is active and releases lava and poisonous gases into the air. They range from daily small eruptions to extremely infrequent super volcano eruptions. Some eruptions from high temperature clouds of ash and steam that can travel down mountains and speeds exceeding that of an inner line. So this maybe volcanic eruption may not be very familiar to Indians, but it is one of the greatest disasters in the countries like Peru, and the volcanic eruption has completely erased a lot of human population, especially the tribal and ethnic communities that are living close to that mountains. Okay, so active volcanoes are present in the most of the Japanese islands. Then next one is landslide. Of course, we must be familiar with the landslide. Landslide is a disaster involving elements of the ground, including rocks, trees, parts of houses. So those who are living in northeast part of India, they must be knowing there is a loose sand, loose hills. So even for small activities, small rainfall also, the landslides collapses, and it will block the roads, and that will become a great difficulty for traveling. So landslide is a disaster involving elements of the ground, including rocks, trees, parts of houses, and anything else which may happen to be swept up. Landslides can be caused by an earthquake. Reasons for landslides: earthquakes can lead to landslide, volcanic eruptions, or general instability in the surrounding land. As I told you, loose soil is there, so automatically it will be fall down from the higher layers. We have also seen landslides when we are working in northeastern part of India, so that is quite common in those places. Then we have climatic disasters are there. First one is tropical cyclones, floods, storms, mudslides, avalanches, drought, wild forest fires. So tropical cyclones, we all know that recently 15 days back I was also struck in a waterlogging area. So much of problems happened in Bangalore city. Now I suppose Delhi or Punjab part is affected by the cyclone rain, torrential rain, and all these create a lot of damage to the human property and population and the infrastructure. So tropical cyclones are large rotating migratory storms that form over the tropical oceans. Tropical cyclones are called hurricanes in Atlantic, Caribbean and Eastern Pacific. So the name given to the tropical cyclones in Atlantic, Caribbean and Eastern Pacific is hurricanes, and in the Western Pacific these are named as typhoons, and in Indian Ocean we call it as a cyclone. So cyclone, typhoons and hurricanes, all these are same. The name given is different in different parts. They occur primarily during the late summer month. Because of the change in the pressure, these cyclones forms. Then floods Flood is an overflow of an expanse of water that submerges land, a deluge. It is usually due to the volume of water within a body of water, such as river or lake, exceeding the total capacity of the body, and as a result, some of the water flows or sits outside the normal perimeter of the body. So, overflowing of the river from the river banks will cause floods, but unnatural floods, artificial floods happen in Bangalore city because of the blockage of the drainage. So, that is not a natural disaster, it is a man-made disaster. But when Brahmaputra overflows, when Ganges overflows, then that is a natural disaster, that is a flood. Then you can see this one, the flood prone areas in India. So all this red color in the Indian map, on Indian map you can see these are the flood prone areas. Mostly these are flood prone areas are located in the northeastern part of India and the northern part of India because of the presence of the perennial Himalayan perennial rivers, great and dangerous and most wonderful rivers in India. Those are Brahmaputra, Indus, Ganges. So these are the flood prone areas. So lot of disaster, lot of great loss to human infrastructure and to the agriculture happens in this northern part of India, northeastern part of India. And we cannot stop these floods because we are building infrastructure across our stopping the flow of the current of the water of the river. So it cannot be stopped, but we can go with some preparedness or some kind of preparedness so that we can get at least some kind of relief from this kind of disasters. Knowing about the monsoon season, coming to know about this kind of flood situation so that we can save. So we will use this flood preparedness before flood and relief and rescue during flood and flood mitigation after flood. So during before flood, what we have to do, chronicle flood prone areas we have to identify. Prior information on probable flood affected areas with a considerable lead time should be given to the people who are living in that. So that's why the officers, they come and they evacuate the people before the flood comes into that area. Optimum evacuation plans to be done. Then during flood affected areas to be monitored, flood damage statistics to be prepared, updation of the flood condition in terms of flood residence and persistence to be given to the people who are affected by the flood during that time. So rescue operations should be done, but before that only evacuation should be done. Then flood mitigation is after completion of the flood. So changes in the river course if possible, the status of flood control work, river banks erosion, drainage congestion, flood risk zones, all these things to be done so that we can at least minimize the loss of human and infrastructure. Then next type of disaster is storm or dust storms. It is found mostly in the western part of India like Rajasthan, or mostly the countries which are located to the next to these deserts. A dust storm is a strong, violent wind that carries fine particles such as slit, sand, clay and other materials, often for long distances. The fine particles swirl around in the air during the storm. Then what is a windstorm? Is generally a short duration event involving a straight line winds or gusts in excess of 50 miles per hour. A windstorm can knock down trees and power lines, damage homes, businesses, public facilities and create tons of disasters related. These windstorms are called tornadoes in USA or in the northern countries. Then we have mudslides. You can see the picture. I have seen this mudslide in Assam when I was working, and that was very close to our staff quarters. So the mudslides or mud flows are a special case of landslides in which heavy rainfall causes loose soil and steep terrain to collapse and slide downward. So when they come down, they will bring not only the mud, it brings a lot of trees and all those things, boulders also, and it will completely cover the houses which are next to that landslide, and people lose life also. Then avalanches. So in the northern part of India, in Himalayan part ranges, we can find this kind of avalanche prone zones also. Avalanche is a geographical disaster involving a slide of a large snow or rock mass down a mountain side, caused when a buildup of material is released down a slope. It is one of the major dangers faced in the mountains in the winter. So avalanches happen, snow avalanches happen in the Himalayan mountains. Then drought. Drought is an extended period of months or years when a region suffers a severe deficiency in its water supply. Most of our India is depends upon the monsoon season. If monsoon's arrival is delayed, then we people suffer with drought. Generally, this occurs when a region receives consistently below average rainfall. Drought can cause significant damage and harm the local economy. So, this drought areas, like especially in the Rajasthan areas, are in the what you call rain shadow regions where there is less amount of rainfall. So these places are prone to this kind of natural problems called drought, and it leads to famine. So this is the places in India where you can find extremely drought affected areas, severe drought prone areas, and moderate drought affected areas. If you see, the extremely drought affected areas are in Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Karnataka. So there are different colors are there, and different information is there. If you read, extreme drought affected areas are in the Rajasthan, particularly areas to the west of Aravali Hills, Marustali and Kanch regions of Gujarat falls into this category. Included here are the districts like Jaisalmer and Baramar, are the villages in the desert that receives less than 90 millimeter average rainfall, annual rainfall. And severe drought prone areas are parts of Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and interior parts of Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, northern parts of Tamil Nadu, even southern parts of Jharkhand, Odisha are included in the severe drought prone areas. Then moderate drought prone affected areas are northern parts of Rajasthan, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and some parts are there, Karnataka also, Tamil Nadu also. So the arrival of monsoon season, if it is delayed, naturally India subcontinent suffers or gets this kind of a drought, natural disaster. And some places where there are less rainfall, then those places are actually having extreme drought affected areas. Now let us go to the next one, wild forest fires. During summer season, these happens. Wildfires can start as a slow burning along the forest floor, killing and damaging trees. In Australia is known for these wild forest fires. They often spread more rapidly as they reach the tops of trees, with wind carrying the flames from trees to tree. Usually dense smoke is the first indication of the fire. You may ask, sir, how come green forest can turn into ashes? The green forest will remain green only, but they shed leaves, and that leaves will dry up, and that will become a source of this fire initially. And once it becomes a huge fire, it can engulf even the green trees also. And reasons or common causes include lightning, human carelessness. Somebody will smoke a cigarette and it will drop without cutting that one. So what happens? That will ignite the fire, and it will cause thousands of hectares of forest to get into fires. And then arson, volcanic eruption, and pyroclastic cloud from active volcano, that can be a threat to those in rural areas and also wildlife. Then we have environmental disasters like environmental pollution, deforestation, desertification, pest infestation, and epidemics. Now, what is deforestation? In most of the developing countries, we are going with the deforestation. Deforestation is a large scale removal of trees by hand method, from slash and burn deforestation to clear land for the different purposes, for the development of infrastructure, development of industries, all those things we are doing deforestation. Then desertification. Why desertification is also happening? In some parts of Andhra Pradesh, now the deserts are coming into the picture because of lot of reasons. Desertification, the expansion of dry lands due to poor agricultural practices, degradation of soil fertility, erosion, forest removal, and climate change. So these are the reasons. Even the desertification is also happening. We have seen in the north, in the Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka, this desertification is really happening, and it is really we can witness these things with our own eyes. Then epidemics. Now we all know what is the epidemic because of the COVID pandemic. So common diseases spreading rapidly and extensively by infection and affecting many individuals in an area or a population at the same time. So an epidemic outbreak of influenza, malaria, dengue fever, bird flu, these things are not in our control. We may have a vaccine, but there is no guarantee that the vaccine is a correct treatment for this problems. Then technological disasters are there, situations in which large number of people, property, infrastructure or economic activity are directly or adversely affected by major industrial accidents, severe pollution incidents, nuclear accidents, Chernobyl, air crashes, major fires and expansion. So these are industrial accidents like chemical spoils, infrastructure collapse, gas leaks, Bhopal gas tragedy, explosions generally happens in the steel industry, radiation in the nuclear reactors, people who are working in nuclear reactors, those, and transport accidents, road, rail, air and space accidents. So domestic, fire, collapse of residential building, all these are technological disasters. Then there are complex disasters, may not be part of this NCERT textbook. Just let us go with one round of this reading. Terrorism, civil unrest or war. Now what is happening between Ukraine and Russia, refugee problems, border disputes, these are also leads to lot of disasters. So we have studied about different disasters. According disasters and hazards, all disasters are hazards, but all hazards are not disasters. And according to the NCERT textbook, the disasters are classified into 4 categories: atmospheric disasters, terrestrial disasters, aquatic disasters, biological disasters. And now what we have to understand is disaster management. Okay, these are disasters which are not under the human control, but what can we do to minimize the loss of life, infrastructure, livestock in this world? So Indian government has passed disaster management bill in 2005. So what is this disaster management bill 2005? Defines disaster as a catastrophe. So central government decides whether to announce a natural disaster or not. So they will declare a natural disaster, flood situation Assam. Every year they will declare the natural disaster and they will fund Assam like hundreds of crores so that they can recover from that disaster. So the disaster management bill, which is passed in 2005, defines a disaster. So what is a disaster, what is a calamity, all those things is part of the bill, and they will decide, okay, this is a natural calamity happened, so the government should fund that particular area so that people can be rehabilitation can be provided to that particular people, infrastructure can be built. So the Disaster Management Bill 2005 defines disaster as a catastrophe, mishap, calamity or a grave occurrence affecting any area arising from natural or man-made causes or by accidents or negligence which results in substantial loss of life or human suffering or damage to and destruction of environment and is of such nature or magnitude as to be beyond the coping capacity of the community of the affected area. So when floods affected Assam, when it wants to enter into the normal stream or when it wants to come out of that problem, the government has to give lot of money or fund to the government so that they can start the rehabilitation process. They can again give back something to the people who has lost their life, family members in that disaster. So government of India has passed this disaster management bill and they will define what is a disaster, catastrophe, mishap, calamity or a grave occurrence, and according to that they will fund the program. Then we have Oklahoma Strategy and International Decade for some IDNDR. So this one has a plan and it will note that each country has a sovereign responsibility to protect its citizens from natural disasters, and they will advise some preventive measures so that they can develop a proper system to save people and infrastructure before the natural disaster really struck. Then we have disaster management. So what is the disaster management? Pre-disaster management involves generating data and information about the disasters, preparing vulnerability zoning maps and spreading awareness among the people about this. Apart from this, disaster planning, preparedness and preventive measures are other steps that need to be taken in the vulnerable areas. So we know that earthquake prone zones are there, we know that flood prone zones are there, drought prone zones are there. All those things if we know, then we have to prepare before that natural disaster occurs or happens. Then during disaster, rescue and relief operations such as evacuation, construction of shelters and relief camps, supplying of water, food, clothing and medical aids to be taken care should be done on emergency basis. So they must be having a mechanism to do all these things on faster pace. Then post-disaster operation should involve rehabilitation and recovery of victims. It should also concentrate on capacity building in order to cope up with the future disasters if any. So they should plan for the future impending disasters also. So the disaster management has 3 steps. One is pre-disaster management, during disaster management, and post-disaster management. And now we have completed the natural disasters and hazards topic, but we will just continue with few more important information which is given in the NCERT class 11 textbook, so that we'll have a comprehensive idea about what is the information is required for studies. So here you can see water availability are basin wise. So India has vast country land, so we need to understand which river gives percentage, cubic kilometers are percentage of water gives. So major rivers of for India is Indus, Ganga, Brahmaputra, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, Pennar. And east flowing rivers between Mahanandi and Pennar, east flowing rivers between Pennar. So you can read this information and try to find out which are the rivers in India contributing lot of or average, what is that one, I am not able to say, average annual availability in cubic kilometers. So you can read this information, you can find out which river is giving lot of what you call resources, has become a great resource for the India. So you can see Ganga and Brahmaputra, Barak and others are the major sources of river water. And in southern part, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri and Pennar are there. Next one, if you see state union territories wise forest one. So even though now the states have been re-allotted, allocation of states in union territory is done, but generally information Andhra Pradesh now again it is divided. So this is not outdated, of course may be important, but you need to go through it once and try to update yourself as per the latest information. Then the same thing I have given in the next one for the information. Then you can see state-wise details of protected area networks in the country. So number of national parks, number of wildlife sanctuaries, number of conservation reserves, all these things we have to go according to the latest information. Now let us start the question answer session. We have 10 more minutes to complete this session of natural disasters and hazards. First question as usual to Ghoshji. Read the question and find the answer, Ghoshji.
Hi, sir. Which of the following is the example of sudden onset hazards? Famine, drought, environmental degradation, earthquake.
Sudden.
It will be earthquake.
Correct. This is earthquake, sudden onset hazard. Famine we can expect, drought we can expect, environmental degradation we can expect. If you use more and more plastic, if you use more and more vehicles which releases carbon emissions in the atmosphere, we can understand the environmental degradation is a slow and continuous process. Drought also we can understand, famine also we can predict. Correct answer, Goshi. Next question to Deepa ma'am. Deepa ma'am.
Are the example of system failure, fire, explosion, chemical leakage, industrial, slow onset, sudden onset. Industrial.
Dash are the examples of system failure, fire, explosion, chemical leakage. Industrial hazards, slow onset hazards, sudden onset hazards. So what are the system failure, fire, and explosion, chemical lesion? It will be part of industrial hazards.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next question. Rajesh sir. Rajesh sir. Okay, Goji, please read next question.
Hi, sir. Which of the following is not an epidemic? Earthquake, waterborne disease, foodborne disease, person-to-person disease. It will be earthquake.
It is earthquake. Let us just go back once to previous question. Dash are the examples of system failure, fire, explosion, chemical leakage. The answer which I have written when I practiced, it is none of these is coming, but let us find this answer later on. Okay. And now next question, Deepa ma'am.
Which of the following is a man-made disaster? Fire, traffic, road accident, rail accidents, terrorist attack.
Which of the following is a man-made disaster? Fires, traffic, road accidents, rail accidents, terrorist attacks. Which one?
Terrorist attack.
Fire, no?
Fires.
Fire.
Okay. So all are related or not related?
All are very closely related. Traffic, road accident, but we don't call
Yes,
road
sir.
accidents as disaster. We don't call rail accidents as disaster. We don't call terrorist attacks as disasters. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So
Yes.
fire is a natural disaster, and even sometimes it can be man-made also. Okay, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Right. Next, Goji, little complicated question for everybody. Read the question, try to find the answer. Match the type of hazard with example. Epidemic, sudden onset, slow onset, industrial and technological under column A. Under column B, explosion, environmental degradation, tsunami, vector-borne diseases. Now, epidemic, which one? Deepa ma'am, Goji? Epidemic,
Vector
borne disease.
borne disease.
Right. Now, if you see, A is a combination is given to 4. So, option A. But let us see whether it is correct or not. Then B is sudden onset. They have given tsunami. Correct? Sudden onset. Tsunami we cannot predict. So, tsunami is a sudden onset. Slow onset they have given explosion. Slow onset is explosion, that is also correct. And industrial and technological hazard is given to, wait, I am wrong here. Sudden C is 2, sorry. C is
Environmental
2. Right. One second. While drawing. So we'll go again. So epidemic is vector-borne disease. Sudden onset is tsunami, slow onset is environmental degradation, and industrial and technological is explosion. So this is the answer, and option A is the correct answer for this question. Next question, Goji.
Yes, sir. What can be of the cause of the release of chemicals? Human errors, technological failure, natural activities.
Only one, or only 1 and 2, or only 3, or all 1, 2 and 3 are the reasons for the chemicals, release of chemicals. Human errors, a technological failure, and natural activities. All can be reason correct?
All, sir.
All.
All.
Right. Next. Deepa ma'am.
Which one of the following is different from others in respect to type of hazard? Famine, famine, sir.
Right. So answer is famine, because it is a natural disaster, chemical accident, terrorist attack, rail accidents are involved with the human. Next question, Goji.
Sir, what precautions must be kept in mind while constructing a building in an earthquake-prone area?
Read the
They should
options.
build along fault lines. It should be improperly designed. It should be constructed according to the bylaws laid by the municipality. The material used for construction should be heavy. It will be option C.
Right. It should be constructed according to the bylaws laid by the municipality. So the municipality, they know what is the soil structure, what is the area, and if it is not followed, then if earthquake comes, then what will happen? The building collapse and there is a loss of human life. Next question.
Sir, what is the fault line, sir?
The material used for construction should be heavy. Okay. Deepa ma'am?
Sir, fault lines. So what is fault lines?
Which one?
Oh, sir, the previous one.
Building should be built along fault lines. Okay, right. Fault line means, for example, if you see this earthquake prone zone from here to here, these earthquake prone zones are having some kind of fault lines. That means these are the areas where the two plates or two great land masses are moving or attached. So in those areas, if the construction is done, then there will be a great chance of great disaster. That means if small minor earthquake comes also, the building may collapse.
Oh, yes, sir.
Right. Next question to Deepa ma'am.
Which of the following houses are affected by flood? Houses trade by grass, bamboo, houses built on slits, houses built on elevated areas, houses built away from flood plains.
Right. So which one?
It's a flood.
Which of the following houses are affected by floods?
The grass, bamboo.
Correct. So most of the northeastern people houses are affected by grass and bamboo. If you have a pakka
Something.
building or concrete building, those houses can withstand the flood. But if it is built by grass and bamboo, then those houses may not withstand for this. Last question, Goji.
Yes, sir. Seismograph is an instrument to measure earthquake. To measure earthquake.
To measure earthquake. So seismograph is an instrument to measure the earthquake, and earthquake is measured in the Richter scale. The more the number in the Richter scale, the greater the damage can happen due to the earthquake. So this is the topic which we have completed in this class, natural disasters and hazards, and this is the last topic in the Indian geography class. And with this class we have completed the Indian geography portion or part or syllabus under general studies part. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can ask me now.